There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second broadcast for this series of special conversations. Today, we have, well, there's 0 people. Today, we have a very, very special guest. There's somebody, and they like us already. Very, very special guest. We have Joanne Guo.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Guo. And why don't you explain what your doctorate is in and what you do for a living?
Okay, so my PhD is in economics, and I am a full-time professor at St. Joseph's University in Brooklyn. I teach finance and economics courses.
Excellent. And I am Fred Holtz. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Plainview. I'm with Therapy My Way, which is a beautiful facility here on South Oyster Bay Road. If you want information about getting help or testing and evaluation or individual therapy or marital therapy or social skills for teenagers, there's the number, 888-HELP, 516-888-HELP. But today, you may have noticed in the news, there was a trial, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So we're going to talk about some of the economic implications of relationships, and also I want to talk about one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is narcissists and what to do about them. So we were kind of talking about this off and on all week. So I want to preface by saying, and by the way, there's 3 people, welcome, and please ask questions. Let us know what you think. Why don't you put it, yeah, there you go. We're going to see your questions and we're going to answer every question correctly this time. So please feel free to ask any questions. Say hello, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, tell your friends about the broadcast. Anyway, so we were talking about this all week. One thing to keep in mind, we're never going to sort of know the truth. We only know what the media is presenting and what we saw of the trial and what we see in the news. We don't know what really happened between the 2 of them. So I'm just prefacing the whole episode by saying we don't know the truth. But to me, one of the most important aspects is that a man got to talk about being verbally abused and narcissistically abused by a woman. We don't know exactly what happened. We'll never know what happened. But based on what we see, it sure seems like Amber Heard was a narcissist and was abusing Johnny Depp. Whether, he has histories of getting into altercations as well, so we don't know. But the trial was about defamation of character, that she accused him of being physically abusive, and the jury unanimously determined that was not true, and it was slanderous or defamation to talk about that. So that's all we know. But 2 things we're going to talk about, sort of 2 topics at the same time. Economically, what is a relationship from an economist point of view? What makes a healthy relationship from an economist point of view and a psychologist point of view? And also, we will definitely talk about narcissistic abuse. So please feel free to ask questions, join us, introduce yourself, say hi. There's 3 people watching. You had some comments about the whole. We'll start with the trial, and so you had some insight you just told me about.
Well, like I was telling you before, I don't want to take sides because I didn't live their lives at that time. So it's hard to say who is abusing who. And I get the feeling they're probably at least verbally abusive to each other. Right? That's my sense.
It seemed like
of their dynamic
could be
at the time. But anyway, so like I said, I don't want to take sides on who's abusing who, but just from what I've been reading in terms of what Amber Heard did with her money, that she got about $7 million from Johnny Depp for the divorce settlement, and she didn't really donate that much money. That she pledged to 2 charities. One was ACLU, and the other, I forgot, I think was a hospital in Los Angeles or something.
From what I understood, she made a big deal out of saying that she didn't donate it. She said, I shouldn't have to buy people's loyalty or something like that, she said recently.
And then she also said that because of the lawsuit that she stopped making donations to these charities that she pledged because of Johnny Depp's lawsuit. But still, if you were serious about donating money, wouldn't you just donate whatever money you receive from that and just donate it immediately, right? Instead of keeping it.
It
So,
seemed
mhm.
it seemed her comments were like disingenuine, and
Mhm.
even after the whole verdict, she was on
Mhm.
TV all over the place. She's confusing information. She said, "I
Mhm.
still love him. I'll always love him,
Mhm.
but it wasn't fair." All that
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
So narcissists typically they will never ever blame themselves or take responsibility for their own behavior ever. It's one of the hallmarks of narcissism is they're always right. Um, and it sure seems like that's what she's portraying.
Yes, and also, I like I said, I wasn't really following the trial, so I didn't watch any of the trial, and I just read a few articles here and there. Um, but supposedly, but it's from Johnny Depp's side. They hired either a psychiatrist or a psychologist
Right.
to evaluate Amber Heard, and they found or they diagnosed her as being
Borderline, right?
yes, borderline. I always forget that term.
So
Mhm.
borderline personality disorder, just for the audience's sake, um, it's people who see things as black and white. They have trouble finding the middle ground. Either they hate you or they love you. They have trouble with developing a realistic sense of who the other person is. They do tend to go to extremes. Everything is drama. Everything is overblown, dramatic.
Makes sense. She's an actress.
Yeah,
And also I have people who I know, like friends and family members who are borderline, and generally they also have something else, right? Like being narcissistic.
that's true.
Right.
It's
Hmm.
called comorbidity.
Hmm.
Like narcissists are almost never just narcissists. They're
Hmm.
also, like you said, they're also like borderline or aggressive or I can't think of the word. But anyway, they usually have more than one thing going on at once. We have 3 viewers. Why don't you say hello and ask a couple of questions? And somebody likes us. We said something good. Somebody gave us a thumbs up.
All right. Mhm.
Uh, I'm branching topics a little bit, but I mean, my takeaway from the trial is that a man got to talk about being abused by a woman, and it did bring up the topic of narcissistic abuse, which is not the same necessarily as physical abuse or verbal abuse. A narcissist utilizes you as a supply for their own ego. They're very crafty and very devious and very destructive, and they don't stop. So it's not a surprise to me that
Mhm.
Amber Heard is still out there, causing trouble. Whereas Johnny Depp, I mean, I don't want to over characterize it, but he seems to have getting back to his normal life. And he said at the end of the trial, "Thank you for giving my life back." Um, anyway, but to branch topics a tiny bit, we were talking about in a healthy relationship, what happens to the economics of the relationship? And so it's a controversial topic a little bit, but in a healthy relationship, long-term serious relationship, should you have separate bank accounts? Should you have a prenuptial agreement? Should you have only a joint bank account? And I mean, uh, my answer at least is a healthy relationship, you're usually working towards the same goal financially, emotionally, vacation wise, kids wise, education wise. Um, I would, I mean, this is an opinion, but it's a professional opinion. Um, a healthy couple should have a joint bank account where they achieve their goals, to buy a house, buy a car, have a family. But also, you should have separate bank accounts if you just want to buy something frivolous or small, and it gives a sense of identity, a sense of individuality. So, the healthiest relationships seem to have a joint bank account and separate bank accounts as well. What's your opinion? There's 4 people out there. That's 4 different opinions.
And going back to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, because
Please do.
Johnny Depp, he is so much wealthier than Amber Heard. I mean, at the time, I
They're
think
both actresses. I mean,
no,
actors.
but Johnny Depp's net worth at the time
of
was about
course.
like 400 million or even more,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Amber Heard was an unknown actress
Oh,
whose net
Kristen
worth.
says, such a great point. Which point was that?
Uh-huh.
We made a great point.
Oh yeah, probably about the bank account. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, with such a big difference in terms of wealth, and it seemed like she signed a prenup. That's why she didn't get half of his money. Instead, she only got $7 million instead of half of his net worth. How do you balance that then? You know, like one person having so much wealth versus the other.
Oh, so thank you, Kristen. Kristen is a longtime viewer. And if you have any questions, Kristen, or comments, please just say them. So what happens if you, in a relationship when there's a huge imbalance in wealth? I mean, historically, there have been some like that. There are famous people who don't marry other famous rich people. I think, I don't know about a prenup. I get it. Like if you have $400 million and you're entering a new relationship, and the state divorce law says you get half of everything, I get it. I mean, don't you want to protect that level of money? But part of a healthy relationship is trust. So I don't know. I think there has to be an understanding at least. And I think we discussed this briefly. I think this is why rich people marry other rich people. There's a few reasons. One is that they're used to that level of comfort, but the other is they like the same things. Like if you have $400 million, chances are, it says, we have a comment. You are controlled. So when one person has that level of difference of money,
that's true.
You are controlled. Well, I don't know if in every case, but it's certainly a distinct possibility. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine the topic not coming up, like over dinner. You know, like I just made another movie and I got $25 million. How was your day? I can't imagine the topic not coming up. Does it work? I guess I'm not connected enough with Hollywood relationships, but I do know Hollywood level relationships generally are turbulent, and there are multiple marriages in people with lots of money. If you think of anyone with lots of money, like what's his name just got divorced? Not Bezos.
No, he got divorced a few years ago, but
who just got divorced recently? Or maybe I'm behind the times.
You're probably
And what was the Elon Musk connection to Amber Heard?
Well, he dated Amber Heard supposedly after Amber Heard separated from Johnny Depp, but there were rumors that it was before Johnny Depp and Amber Heard separated from each other. But anyway, the point was that yes, Amber Heard dated Elon Musk for a brief period of time, probably for a few months.
So I mean, you could it's kind of a pattern of dating people much richer than she. But so I don't have an easy answer. Like, do these relationships work where there's a really big imbalance in wealth? I don't know. I'm guessing not. I would guess based on knowledge that they wouldn't last as long as if the levels were somewhat similar. But it's tough in Hollywood. Like 400 million versus 100 million. Like it's a big difference, but does it really make a difference in day-to-day life? Probably not.
Maybe for Johnny Depp, he has so much money that he's like, okay, what's giving my wife $1 million here or there?
I don't think 7 million is going to kill him.
Yeah.
Actually,
right.
But her, he was awarded what, a $10 million settlement?
15 million.
Really?
Around that.
So I don't think she has that kind of money. I think it's like more symbolic. But was it a fair decision? Like there are Amber Heard has a lot of support on the internet as well. It seems to me though, if you had to read the entire internet, they're kind of more on Johnny Depp's side. It seems like he got the sympathy. Certainly the jury was unanimous, right? And
that's right.
It seems like he told a more believable story, or she was inconsistent and seemed to embody exactly what
Or perhaps Johnny Depp is just a better actor.
Well,
Right?
we're talking about two actors,
That's
you know?
right. So it's hard to take sides, right? And I
And
just
then I
yeah.
heard that she
Mhm,
was now dropped from Aquaman 2 or whatever.
mhm,
I don't know if
mhm,
that is that official. I don't know. Maybe
mhm,
maybe the four of you out there could tell me.
mhm,
And the other three
mhm,
of you, introduce yourself. Say hi. We
mhm,
like to know, and maybe Kristen, we know who you are already, but the audience doesn't. Why don't you just
mhm.
tell us where you're, you know, what area you're from and how you found out about us, or whatever you'd like. But welcome again. And if you have anyone has questions, look, we said two good things. We got
All right.
two thumbs up.
And going back to the issue with couples and money,
Yes, please.
we talked about how there's a huge discrepancy between Amber Heard's wealth versus Johnny Depp. But how about in terms of just like on a more normal level? Um,
Yeah,
mhm,
on a more day to day level.
mhm,
Let's say someone has like $700,000 in the bank, and the other
mhm,
person has no savings at all.
mhm.
I think that's more realistic to talk about.
That's
I don't
right.
know the
Yeah.
difference between 400 million and 100 million, you
Mhm,
know, or 10
mhm,
million.
mhm.
If you're not worrying about putting food on the table or putting gas in your car, um, I prefer to be anonymously. Okay, that's no problem. Don't worry about it. But welcome anyway. Yeah, I think on a more practical basis, you have people like the guy's a doctor or an attorney, or she's an attorney, and they're going out with someone who's like not a professional or a different profession. I think that difference is more of a difference than like Amber
Mhm,
Heard. Let's say she's worth 5 million, and Johnny Depp's
mhm,
worth, like you said, 400. I
mhm.
don't know that it symbolically makes a difference, but on a day to day basis,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't think so because Johnny Depp has so much money that
it doesn't matter
it doesn't
anymore.
matter anymore.
Like when you
That he,
compare Jeff
yeah.
Bezos to Elon Musk to Zuckerberg,
Mhm,
I mean, yes, there's a difference, and they, by the way, they are very conscious of the difference. Like
mhm,
Elon Musk is always poking fun at the other guy, saying, "Oh, now I'm number one."
mhm.
But on a day to day basis, does it really make a difference? You have like 7 tropical islands and 3 yachts and 17 homes. Does it matter if you have 15 homes and 2 yachts? I don't
That's
know.
right. So, but like on a
But no, you're
more
right. You're right.
normal level versus like that kind of wealth, I do notice that because like Johnny Depp called Amber Heard a gold digger,
Yes,
and
many times.
to tell you the truth, I just feel like a lot of times men and women were raised to have certain kind of expectations in terms of wealth and contribution
Yeah,
in a
you were talking
relationship.
about this recently. Maybe you want to
Mhm.
expand on it a bit.
Well, I just feel like that, perhaps women were unfairly called gold digging when that women were raised to expect certain things from a man because traditionally man provides the living and the woman stays home, raise children, right? And so it, and how can you distinguish that from being a gold digger?
I think that so
Hmm.
that stereotype
Hmm.
of the stereotype has changed, but not
Hmm.
completely. You're right.
Hmm.
Like in the
Hmm.
50s,
Hmm.
it was definitely like this. There was no such term as stay-at-home mom. That was the typical
Hmm.
thing you did. It
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
pretty rare for a woman to have a career in a marriage. Not
And so
impossible.
obviously if you're a woman and you're home taking care of household chores and raising children, obviously you prefer a man who has a better career and who brings in a bigger paycheck. And I wouldn't consider that being gold digging.
No, I get it.
Hmm.
And like I said, I think that perspective and stereotype has
Uh-huh.
changed, but not
Uh-huh.
completely.
Uh-huh.
There's still that concept, especially depending on what culture you have raised in.
Hmm.
So is it wrong to call someone a gold digger because that's what they expect?
Hmm.
But the term can be reserved for someone who knows ahead of time that they're probably going to get divorced. I'm not saying this is
Hmm.
Amber Heard, by the way. I don't
Hmm.
know, but like they
Hmm.
know ahead of time that they're going to get a divorce or and get the money. Like they
Hmm.
plan it. That was not happening in the 50s.
That's right. But I just feel like a lot of times, men would be thinking, oh, she only wants me because I have a bigger paycheck. But at the same time, I think a woman might have just see that as one aspect of what the man can offer her, right? You know, and of course we want it all, right? And we, I mean, not just women, but a man as well, that, right, we want love, we want to be financially stable, we want a happy family. So all that together, and wealth is just part of it, and financial security is part of the package. And so you really can't call a woman a gold digger for wanting everything, and
I get
you
it.
know. Mhm.
What do you guys think out there?
Mhm.
There's 5 people watching.
Mhm.
What do you think about that
Right.
statement? What do you think
Mhm.
about, the concept of calling a woman a gold digger?
And I'm just speaking to that as an economist. I'm thinking about, entering into a marriage. It's like a business contract when you think about it, right? We take all the emotions away, and you're getting into a business deal.
I,
And
I
so,
think
what do you have to offer to the other person? I'm not just speaking from a woman's point of view, but also from a man's
it's
point of
definitely
view
a
as well.
mistake not
Hmm.
to discuss those issues
Uh-huh.
before a marriage.
Uh-huh.
Like it should be openly discussed. Like,
Uh-huh.
are you going to have a joint bank account? Are you going to have
Hmm.
separate bank
Hmm.
accounts? Like,
Hmm.
what are our financial goals as a couple and as individuals as well?
Hmm.
But but
Hmm.
there's an economic background that I'm sure you're aware of, that
Hmm.
like World War II is like a pivotal moment, because during World War II, most of the men, or a lot of the men, were overseas, and women joined the workforce.
Hmm.
Then, when the men came home, hundreds of thousands of men came home from the war. They needed jobs, and eventually the economy evolved to the point where you need a dual income family. So, like, my parents were in an era when my father was the main money earner. My mom always worked when she had to, but my dad was the main money earner, and that was possible. And they had a house. I mean, they didn't live fancy. It was a humble home, and that, like, you bought used cars, but they had a car, they had a house. We went on vacation occasionally. Um, had ups and downs, but my point is, like, you could do it back then, where the man or one party makes most of the income, and the family survived with a house, with a car in the suburbs. You can't do that anymore. I don't think one person, unless a top earner, you need both, married parties to, or couple, you need both members to be working. It's certainly the case in my case. Like, we both have to work. We can't, we could survive if one person worked, but not meeting any goals. So
Hmm.
some of it is, some of it is just the economic background of America, of the place we live.
Yeah, it also depends on the region. I mean, we're living in New York,
Yeah, New York is
right?
weird.
So it's an expensive town to survive with just one income, right?
Yeah, that's kind of
So,
true. I guess it is possible elsewhere in the country, and perhaps that's connected to why elsewhere in the country they have other views of, a man's role and a woman's role in a marriage, I
that's
suppose.
right. And circling back to that, because I noticed from situations I've seen or heard that a lot of men, they were raised to think that a woman wants to take a lot from them. And so going into the relationship, a man has this unhealthy view that, oh, she just wants me because I have a house or I have
Oh
a
yeah,
big.
that's the other side of the story,
That's
right?
right. And as a result, they're very stingy with everything, even their love, right?
Mm.
Not just in terms of their wealth, but also their love as well. And that's also kind of like an unhealthy mindset to get into a relationship, right? Versus a woman, all she wanted was, like money from the man. So I see that a lot, right, in relationships. So I wonder though, like, people who are super wealthy, like Johnny Depp, like, what kind of mindset was he in when he, married Amber Heard?
I mean, I would
Okay.
guess. And by the way, there's 4
Hmm.
people watching. Why don't you introduce yourself? Besides
Hmm.
Kristen, who are those other 3 mystery people?
Hmm.
Um, I would I would guess that if you
Hmm.
have that level of wealth, you are mistrustful.
Hmm.
Like, you aren't you? How do you determine if someone, like, genuinely loves you, or is there for the money? Not
Hmm.
necessarily a gold digger, but like, like, I've heard this believe it or not, I've heard this not just in terms of money, but people who are like extremely good looking, like model level good looking, they never know if they say this. They don't know if the person truly loves them or is just attracted to the the outside appearance. It's the same thing with being like that level of wealth. I would think.
That's right.
I mean, for women too. There's women actors who make millions of dollars, and they have to think the same thing. Are they just out for the money? And we were talking about this. It's partially why I think really wealthy people marry other wealthy people, because you don't have to worry. Like they may want the money, but they don't need the money. They're not after me just for the money. What else do you think? What are some healthy? What are the economics of a relationship? What do you consider to be a healthy situation?
Perhaps it might not be just in terms of economics. And I noticed, like I said, that
you're the
a lot. No. But let me finish.
Sure,
I've noticed a lot that a lot of people going into a relationship thinking, what can I take or what can I get out of the relationship, instead of what can I offer the other person. So it is related to economics, right? What do you have to offer to trade for the other person's love, affection? And so I would say a healthy mindset to go into a relationship is not just thinking about what can I get out of the relationship, but what can I give?
There's a psychologist, I can't think of their name right now, but they work in Queens or Brooklyn, and they wrote a book. I forgot the title, but the basic concept is like, you should think about what you have to offer. What do you have to give? What are you presenting? Not so much what you want or what you're looking for, but what are you giving? And he determines that as a healthy perspective. We have a question from Emma. Is there a way to prevent a relationship from turning toxic even after a breakup, like it did with John? A way to prevent a relationship from turning toxic even after a breakup? Well, this is going to have to tie into the concept of narcissism. If you're dating or going out or with a narcissist and you leave, the only way to do it is no contact. You have to break it off completely. No connections to social media, no connections to mutual friends, no connections with family members who may still talk to them. But sure, there's ways to prevent a relationship from turning toxic, but it has to come from you. You have to have respect for the other person. Like a healthy relationship, when it breaks up, there's some kind of mutual understanding. Like, look, we do like each other, but it's just not working. We're on different paths. We're not compatible for whatever reason. But that takes a certain level of maturity to end a relationship calmly. And
yeah, I agree. And also, like, I feel like you have to, to determine whether the person is a toxic person or not, like the person you're breaking up with. If that person is toxic, then you just, initiate a no contact, right? If the person is a nice person and you break up with him or her, then I believe there should not be any kind of drama afterwards. But if the person was toxic or narcissistic, whatever, it most likely will turn toxic now. Right? If the person is a narcissist and you broke it off first.
Well, the most current research that I'm aware of talks about pathological relationships. And a pathological relationship is a relationship where at least one person is pathological. And they can't, it's impossible for them to end without the toxicity. So toxic was, first, they used to call it codependent and abusive, and then they called it toxic, and now the current term is narcissistic. So if you're in a narcissistic relationship, it literally cannot end well, because the narcissist craves to be correct, craves attention, craves control, and has no empathy for the other person. So if you think about there's more characteristics, but just those, it can't possibly end well.
Unless the narcissist breaks up with you first.
Even then, they're going to try to exact, because they rely on the supply of attention and the supply of manipulation. So it even that won't end well. I always recall like a long time ago a relationship where we broke up, and no, not too much drama. We broke up, and I got a call like 2 weeks later from the person, and they said, "I know I know we broke up, but I just wanted to have 5 minutes discussion of, that of the respect we had for it. It was just a normal conversation, is what I'm getting at, and that's I remember it because it's kind of rare that." It's kind of important to talk, if it's not toxic, to talk about, okay, it didn't work. I was looking for two different things. That's a sign of a healthy relationship. If you can talk about the breakup, that's great.
Mhm.
But the way to avoid a relationship turning toxic is to not go out with toxic people. And so how do you know someone's toxic? You can you could tell how they treat other people. Do they, like, if they never say anything about, oh yeah, I understand how you feel, or I understand how that person might have felt, if they treat others in their environment with some respect, and I'm talking about like the waiter in the restaurant and the just normal everyday people, do they treat them well? Are they bitter? There's a checklist of how to tell if someone's
Definitely.
toxic.
And I think you should do a show just on how to spot toxic
Oh,
people before you get into relationships with them.
oh,
No?
we will.
Uh-huh.
It's a topic that deserves more time than
Definitely.
just
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
any questions out there about what's your opinion about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? I never had any particular love for Johnny Depp. I thought he was okay. He was good in Alice in Wonderland. He was good in I like the whole Pirates of the Caribbean series, but I do have more respect for him now because he had the guts to talk about abuse, and that's a tough topic. People don't, especially men, we're not like socialized to talk about things like that.
Mhm. Well,
So,
I thought he was really good looking. He was one of the best good looking actors in Hollywood in his prime. So
and would you
I don't
say?
know.
And he was
That was
in
my 2 cents.
he was in not Saved by the Bell. What was he in?
21 Jump
There you
Street.
go. It shows what I know about Hollywood.
And A Nightmare on Elm Street
He played a guy who got killed, right?
by Freddy Krueger at the end.
Oh,
I think I don't remember the ending.
if
But,
somebody knows, did he survive Freddy Krueger or not?
most likely not, because I remember there's only one survivor, the girl, in the end.
And
I think.
I do remember going to see Edward Scissorhands, and it was different because who's the director?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. It was
Mhm.
I don't know if it was one of the first Tim Burton movies, but it put him on the map for sure.
Mhm.
And I didn't was totally not familiar with Amber Heard's acting or actressing.
No, she and it's surprising that I thought she would have became a bigger star after marrying Johnny Depp, but she never did. So, you know. Mhm.
Anyway, there's 4 people watching. We only said 2 good things though. We only got 2 thumbs up. After all. I did want to talk more about, like, there's two parts I know you think with the economics of a relationship. There's like the give and take and the trading of values. But I'm thinking more of a traditional sense, like how does a couple decide where the money goes? Do both parties always agree on how much money should be spent on everything? Probably not.
No.
But
That's why you should have your own account versus. I mean, you should have a joint account as well as your own account, so that But I would say that, of course, like a big purchase, you should talk about it with your spouse. But it would be like a small purchase, like something $20. Obviously, I'm not going to ask for my husband's approval for $20, right?
I think there should be some agreement. Like, I agree. There should be some agreement. Like, if I buy something over $100, I'll ask you, or whatever. People are at different economic levels. For some people, that'll be $1,000. For some people, that'll be $1 million. But yeah, there should be some understanding that, like, leave me alone. I'm going to buy whatever I want under a certain amount because it doesn't really affect anything. And above that, we'll discuss it. So I definitely agree. What is it? So 5 people are watching.
All right.
Introduce yourself. Let's see who you are. Say hello. And if you have an opinion on Amber Heard or Johnny Depp or the economics of a relationship, you were going to write a book on the economics of a relationship.
I did. I
you
wrote.
did? Oh, you
I
wrote
have
a book.
draft.
That's right.
I just haven't thought about it much these days because I was busy with other stuff. But I would definitely like to do something with that book eventually.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I definitely did write a book about narcissism. It's called
Mhm.
Bye Bye Narcissist, and it will be available in several months,
Mhm.
but we'll get to that. Let me just introduce myself again. I'm Fred Holtz. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Plainview. It's the Purple House on South Oyster Bay Road. And we see kids, adults, teens. We have a social skills group called Club 8 for kids. Oh, hello. We have a hello. Hi, Michelle.
Mhm.
I saw a hello. Do you have a question, Michelle? Anyway, we do testing and evaluation and individual therapy, couples counseling. And who are you again?
I'm Joanne Guo. I am a full-time professor. I teach finance at the university. No, St. Joseph University. I almost said my previous school.
She's taught at several universities.
Yeah, so currently I'm teaching at St. Joseph's University in Brooklyn. Okay.
You taught economics at a school that went out of business, ironically.
No, well, it's still in business. It was taken by another
Got it.
person. So.
Why don't you call us? Wait, I saw a thing. Call us at 516-888-HELP. Easy to remember, 516-888-HELP. If you have any questions or ideas for shows, you can write, you can email.
And I think we did have an idea for a show in that we're going to talk about the psychology of was it finance, investing, or money? So
yes, we're going to in the future soon. We're going to talk about the psychology of investing, the psychology of finance, right?
Yes.
And definitely, I mean, not to ruin the next show, but definitely there's a psychology involved with investing. Like if your stock's going down, like you just want it to go up a little bit more, My family a long time ago had the experience of there was a stock that we heard about that was like rising, and we watched it and we plotted it, and it went up and up and up and up, and some of us said, okay, we got to sell it, and some people said, no, it's going to go up more. I have a feeling it's going to go up more, and then it plummeted, and that was it.
Well, my advice would be do not buy stocks that you don't know much about.
That's true.
Stick with the more reliable names that like Walmart, Apple.
I have great economic advice. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
For everyone, this is I say buy low and get this.
Yes.
Sell high. What do you think?
That's a good idea. I have something to add.
Go ahead.
Right? Buy low and sell, and buy low and hold it for 20 years.
Oh.
Do not check your account. Do not look at it for 20 years.
Wow.
Buy like an S&P 500 index and just don't look at it for 20 years. And you'll thank me 20 years later.
We'll be back. We'll be back 20 years from now. So any final questions or comments about Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, or anything else?
I mean, I do have a lot of comments.
Yeah, hit it. Go ahead.
I just don't think they're appropriate to say on the broadcast.
Sure it is. Go ahead.
No.
What do you have?
I don't want to get sued for libel or defamation.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, but I'm just saying, all this is like he said, she said. Like we didn't really live their lives, so it's hard for me to say I support, the man or the woman.
But
but all the evidence kind of points to like perhaps there's some fabrication from the part of the woman, accusing the man of abuse.
This is nothing but commentary. It's okay. We have something. What do you recommend for couples trying to survive on Long Island financially with also work-family balance? Okay,
that's a good question.
It's very tough. I know I work a lot of hours, and this is just a personal thing. I feel a little bit guilty not spending more time with my son at home. I do put in a lot of hours. I'm dedicated to the business. But so what advice do we have? It's very tough.
Well, I would say that if it's possible, take up a side gig. I have 2 side gigs, right? Aside from my full-time job, I do have 2 part-time jobs as well.
But what if you have kids at home? What if you have I
have kids at home.
Yeah.
I feel like you just have to work harder if you want to achieve certain financial goals, like you just have to take on a side gig if you can. Otherwise, on the other end of the spectrum is that you just have to try to save, to just try not to spend as much money and try to look for ways to save.
I think, I
Mhm.
mean, I totally agree,
Mhm.
but realistically on
Mhm.
Long Island in 2022 with
Mhm.
gas prices, I'm not getting political because there's a lot of
Mhm.
reasons for the gas prices, but with gas prices, with like we went grocery shopping, it was $200 and I bought nothing. Like, um,
Mhm.
I bought like toothpaste. But anyway,
Mhm.
so realistically, it's extremely difficult to survive on Long Island unless you have a two big income families. Um, it's realistic that it's difficult.
Mhm.
Um, so you do have to apportion like spending and where do you live and do you. For me, a big issue was like that I couldn't stand renting because it was throwing money away. But sometimes you have to. So it's very tough. But is there specific like
Well,
financial
I
advice?
would say like if you have an extra room in your house, perhaps you can rent it out.
We did that for a while. Yes,
Mhm.
rent if you have space, rent it out. If you don't
Mhm.
own,
Mhm.
it's a very complicated question.
It is, and it is very tough because I'm still trying to figure out that as well. So, do we have another question
Why does it
or?
say can't post comments to some destination? Oh well,
Uh, okay.
I mean that question deserves a lot more
I agree. Yeah.
analysis and exploration. But
Mhm.
I mean, I would think making a specific plan as a couple, like sitting down and saying, okay, like coming up, working together is very important. Coming up with a plan, having a goal, maximizing income, investing when you can.
And also for a couple, I think the couple should get together and talk about ways to save money, ways to make more
I hate
money.
talking about that,
I
but
but I think it's necessary, and also
it
at the
is
same
necessary.
time that you just you interrupted me and I lost my.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I forgot what I was gonna say. But I would say that yeah, just to get together and talk about ways to save money and to earn more money. Um,
Moving out of Long
mhm.
Island is a good idea. Like it, I mean, it.
But what it's
I know you
it's
don't always have a
hard
choice.
to, yeah. Sometimes you just don't have a choice on where you want to live.
Plenty of people
Mhm.
do move out, like they move to North Carolina, they move to Florida
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the cost of living it's a little less down there, and you
Mhm.
can get
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
bang for your buck.
Mhm.
Um, it is a complicated, we don't didn't do justice to answering that question.
I agree. I mean, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out how to find a balance um, towards that end as well. And that,
So
mhm,
luckily, like I feel lucky, like I do enjoy what I do for a living, and so
mhm,
yes, I struggle with guilt and like
mhm,
the work life balance and all that stuff. But if you can eventually do what you love, it helps. Um,
mhm.
like I don't dread going to work. It's not like a terrible burden. I don't mind putting in a lot of hours, but you know, I I worked for 30 years to get to that point. Not It's not that easy.
Mhm.
Trying to love what you do helps.
Yeah, I do enjoy what what I do as well. So I just don't enjoy the commute. But other than that, I like my job. So yes, and you're right. That also helps as well.
I
Mhm,
always used to say
mhm,
that like if your job was like
mhm,
fun and amazing, like
mhm,
you'd be paying them.
mhm.
Like there's got to be some work.
That's true.
The
Mhm,
nature of the word work, like
mhm.
they pay you to be inconvenienced and
That's right.
to
That's true.
have to be somewhere at a certain time.
Mhm, mhm.
So if it was totally enjoyable and you loved it, you'd be paying them.
I agree. Mhm,
Anyway, I think it's time to the countdown has begun to
mhm.
ending the show. So if you have any other questions or comments, please now's the time. Um, we're going to try to do this every Thursday at 2 o'clock, a different interesting topic. I love my job. Of course you do.
All right. Good for you, because a lot of people don't like their jobs, right? So that's very important to Yeah.
Well, I have inside information about where she works.
Oh, really?
She works here.
Oh, okay.
Of course, she loves her job. Anyway, thanks for joining us. And any comments, please comment. We are going to try to be back every Thursday at 2 with other interesting topics. And thank you for joining us. And thank you, Dr. Guo. Let's wave in unison.
Sure.
In
Okay.
unison.
Mhm.
Bye-bye. We'll see you next Thursday.